AHumbleSoul, we checking back in. Want to put something together on G-Dep, you know, a New York rap artist who really had a decent buzz in the early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? He had a couple of hit records during his time on Bad Boy, but he never really got the opportunity to enjoy his success. You know, signing a major deal, having hit records out, being on BET, MTV, etc. And it was all because of something that was hunting him, had him feeling guilty, something that was giving him nightmares, something that he did while he was a teenager.
I asked him where the money was. He didn't say anything. It's like he just really just like, you know, responded, you know, like, you know, like facially, like, you know, but like he didn't say anything. So, you know, I asked him again, where's the money? And he put his hands up, and then he just I don't know, we caught eye contact. Then he like grabbed the gun.
It actually dates back to 1993. We got to go back to 1993 to revisit this occurrence that took place. At the time, G-Dep, he was living in Harlem, the east side of Harlem, with his grandmother. And the spot where he was staying with his grandma, it was the James Weldon and Johnson houses. He was 18 at the time. It was a month before his 19th birthday. You know, at this time, he was already experimenting with music. He was selling drugs to pay for studio time. He had dropped out of college, you know, and he was really just figuring out a way to fund his career. 1 month before he turned 19 years old, a tragic occurrence happened. You know, at this time, like I mentioned, he was hustling already, but he wasn't robbing. But he had used some of his drug money to buy a pistol. He bought a 40 caliber handgun, and one night he was riding through the projects with his pistol, and he noticed a guy standing outside smoking a cigarette. The guy ended up being identified as 32-year-old John Hinkle down the line. But yeah, Dep, he got off his bike, put out his pistol, and walked up to the guy and asked him for his money. But the guy, John, he didn't comply. He didn't just give up his belongings. It was later revealed, you know, in a police report that all he actually had was a $5 bill and $1 on him, so $6, you know what I'm saying, pretty much on him. He asked him for his money. He didn't give it to him. The guy, John, actually tried to grab G-Dep's gun that he was pointing at him, and they got into a little tussle before G-Dep was able to get the gun back, and he pointed it at the dude, man, and shot him 3 times before he ran off, man, ran back to his bike and rode off. You know, a week later, after the shooting, he took his pistol, man, and threw it in the East River. And that was pretty much that. You know, he never was arrested for the case at that time. And it pretty much became a cold case. He didn't know back then that the guy died, though. He just thought that he shot him and he robbed him. But he ended up continuing to pursue his music career. He was putting out music locally, performing and all of that, building his buzz. And you know, Diddy, you know, who also represents Harlem, he got wind of G-Dep's music and reached out to him and let him know, like, hey, you know, he wanted to sign him to Bad Boy.
When I met Puff Daddy, this is to, you know, to meet him formally, to, you know, talk about the contract and everything. He sent the Bentley to the project. I was just G-Dep, you know what I mean, running around, doing my little shows here and there, you know what I'm saying, whatever I was doing. I saw something silver coming down the block, and the lights, you know, the lights on the car, on the Bentley got, you know, they got the round lights. So it was like, it was coming down the block, and you seen it coming down the block almost like, you know what I mean? Like, it looked like unreal, like a spacecraft in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? He rolled out the window. It was like, you know, it was like kind of unspoken. I kind of knew that it was the car, you know what I'm saying? Like, wow. He laid it down flat. He was like, yo, I'ma sign you.
He ended up signing a 6-figure deal with Bad Boy, you know what I'm saying? And G-Dep went on to record and release his debut project, Child of the Ghetto. And that featured, the hit songs Let's Get It and Special Delivery, which was two bangers, man, for the East Coast. They was being played all on MTV, BET, on the radio stations, man, in different regions. With the Let's Get It song, the video in particular, it actually helped put the Harlem Shake on the map. Because in that video, they had the dancers, the kids, man, doing the Harlem Shake. But yeah, he put out that album. He received a pretty good response from it. Continued to work and collaborate with different artists on Bad Boy. But, his past was still hunting him. He was still thinking about the shooting back in 93, having flashbacks, nightmares, and, just feeling a sense of guilt for what he did. Around this time, he still thought about the guy he shot. He didn't know if he died. He didn't know if the guy had a family, if he was a father, he was just thinking about different things like that. If he would get arrested for what he did, now that he was a superstar in so many words, But that led to him trying to cope with this pain and his inner demons, man. He went from smoking weed to smoking weed laced with angel dust, and he became pretty much addicted to PCP. That became his drug of choice. But the drug use, it ended up getting out of hand. It led to him actually losing his deal with Bad Boy. He lost his town home that he had in New Jersey that he was able to get from his record deal money, and he had to move him and his family back to the same projects where he committed that the murder, back in East Harlem.
Right now we on 15th and Lex, you know what I mean? This is the story, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But here you come through here, this is where it's at. Whatever you want, any type of flavors, man. It's crazy, man. Niggas got that trail mix, man. It's not a game. I was going through my thing, you know what I'm saying? I was to the point where I ain't really have too much paper. My money was kind of low, you know what I mean? So I was robbing, doing things I ain't had no business doing, you know what I'm saying? I got caught up.
And from there he got more seriously addicted to PCP, and he started getting arrested a lot for drug possession, for PCP possession and trespassing, because he was smoking in the projects. Police would catch him and arrest him. So around this time, he's still collaborating with people and releasing music independently, but it was nowhere near as successful as his music was on Bad Boy. But he fought with his demons as long as he could, man. But it was still bothering him.
I know we caught eye contact. Then he like grabbed the gun. And it was kind of like a struggle, and I pulled the gun back from him, and then I fired 3 times, and I didn't realize it was hitting him or anything. Cause I didn't see anything, I just fired. I fired 3 times, and then I went after I fired the gun. I kind of just like ran back to the bicycle that I had on the side. I got on it. He kind of came after me, and I rode off.
17 years after the incident back in East Harlem, when he robbed a dude and shot him, he decided to confess to the crime. It was a cold case at this time. Nobody had been arrested for it, and according to reports, he pretty much would have been able to get away with it, but it was still weighing heavy on his conscience. So one night, man, back in December of 2010, he walked into a New York police precinct and confessed to robbing a guy and shooting a guy multiple times. But he didn't know that the dude had died. But once he confessed to police, they looked up the files. They looked up, the shootings that occurred in that area and identified a victim that had been shot 3 times. Like G-Dep had said he had shot somebody 3 times. The guy had died, and after that, they pretty much arrested him, man, and charged him with murder. Although he confessed to the murder of John Hinkle, he decided to take it to trial. His attorney encouraged him to take it to trial, from what I understand, because they were saying it was like some loopholes. The cold case that the police said he did was different. It occurred at a different time than the shooting that G-Dep did, because he reportedly was riding through his projects at around 1 a.m. in the morning when he noticed John Hinkle standing outside, smoking a cigarette, and robbed him and shot him. But they were saying that the cold case that the police were tying him to, it didn't match up. But nevertheless, man, after a week at trial, a jury found him guilty and convicted G-Dep of second-degree murder. In May of 2012, he was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. And according to reports, he's pretty much been locked up since then. So for the last 13 years or so, G-Dep has been incarcerated, serving his bid. He's been able to change his life around, get sober, get involved in different programs. I believe he got his associate's degree. News came out in December of 2023 that G-Dep was one of 16 people who were granted clemency by New York's governor. So with this case being, his sentence being commuted, he's now eligible to go up for parole sooner than his 2025 date. G-Dep, 49 years old, almost 50 years old. He served 13 years so far of his 15 years to life sentence. So it's really no telling, like, if he still has an interest in music when he finally does get back out. But nevertheless, he says he's been able to clear his conscience, and find a new passion and peace in life, peace of mind, inner peace, which is priceless. But yeah, man, just want to put some up on G-Dep, talented artist, somebody who was able to bless the world with a couple of hits. He's always been an intricate, talented lyricist. Just knowing that he was able to follow his dream after that unfortunate incident, he was able to go on and to become a rap star, and sign with a legendary record label like Bad Boy, be on television, man, and tour and sell records. But still, his conscience wouldn't allow him to just move on with his life. And he went in and confessed to a cold case, which is just unique, man. A lot of people were critical of his decision. Some people say, that drugs motivated him to go in there to do it. But he's been interviewed, since being incarcerated while he's been sober. He's been clean. He's been open about how, his conscience has been, the weight on his conscience has been lifted, and he feels like prison saved his life. And he didn't sound regretful of his decision, going in and confessing to a murder, but yeah, man, that's a story on G-Dep. We'll see how everything pans out with him, considering that he's been granted clemency. If he's going to be out sooner than later, like I mentioned, he's served more than a decade so far on his 15 years to life sentence. So but yeah, man, shout out to everybody that's tuning in and rocking with AHumbleSoul, man. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, please do so ASAP. It's greatly appreciated. Until next time, we're gonna holler at y'all. AHumbleSoul, we signing out. 100.